How's that for an abrupt start, everybody? Hey, I'm going to put the camera up and we're going to chat for just a second. I'll show you what's been going on, talk a little bit about what's coming up, and then we'll, I guess, jet. So, hey, it's good to be back. I kind of took about a year off from the YouTubes there, and not intentionally. It's I had a big move, and I was on sabbatical last year. I know I've talked about that a few times, but there was a heck of a lot going on with my job and with moving and all that other stuff, and not having a shop for a handful of months was a little strange. And then before I left Kansas City, it was kind of the same. I had to start breaking everything down, and I had some projects that I absolutely had to get done and didn't have time to film and chat and all that kind of stuff. But God, I miss being on YouTube. I put out 2 videos in the last few weeks and just had so much fun doing them. One was the stool that I'm sitting on. So I'm not sure if everybody's seen this one or not, but it's my TIG welding stool. And actually, I'll just grab the camera and we'll kind of show it off a little bit. Man, I see so many cool names in the chat there. Stan and Ryan. I don't know which one it is. Drive Shaft Drew, Randy Richard in the shop, Belgian Muscle. Man, it's good to see all you guys. Tech for your needs. Man, how are you doing? So this is the stool, and it was a really interesting kind of way that this came about. I was just in the metal yard kind of messing around and found this all thread. And let me see, I've got a light here. Hang on just a sec, guys. Sometimes these webcams aren't awesome at picking up light. So I'm kind of looking over my shoulder, seeing if you can see all of that. But, you know, found this all thread with the 2 huge nuts and thought, you know what, that might make an awesome stool. And then just kind of dug through the scrap bin, and that's where I got all the lumber for this. You know, just some fairly big pieces of scrap, but scrap nonetheless. And then decided to carve it. And man, what a fun project that was. And quite honestly, sorry about the shaky cam, guys. Quite honestly, it was something I needed. And I always build my bench work high because I'm kind of tall. And so I needed a stool that I could sit on, because when you're sitting and welding and cutting all day, it is kind of nice to have a stool. But the other thing, and I might as well keep that light on, right? We might see some other stuff. The other thing that I've got going, if anybody watches Texas Viking, Terry, he's a welder, and he put together this really cool Lazy Susan, let's call it, for welding. And so he has a disc down by his feet, and then he's got another one up top that just rides on the table. So Gary Ramsey from Ramsey Customs, but also Turbo Cobra, he cut these circles out for me of some plate, some drops that he had. So this is going to be the foot part of it. So this will go down below my bench. And then this big guy, oh, I can't even lift it right now. The big guy back here, I think, I'll lift it. There it is. It's like 1-inch plate right there. So that will get this shaft here. This is off a piece of scaffolding, I believe. Again, just at the scrapyard, picking stuff up. And this is a slip fit in here. So the big one will get glued to the big guy here. I'll have a little turn bolt nut kind of set up here to put some tension on that. And then I'll be able to do the Lazy Susan here from the stool. So really kind of a cool project, and it's all kind of coming together. This is obviously my welding area behind me, and I can, hey, I see Douglas from Retro Weld. How are you doing, Douglas? Haven't seen you in a long time, bud. It'd be great to have this from you. But over here on the wall is gosh, it's so hard to camera guy and watch at the same time, is where all the welding jacket, welding helmet, and welding hats kind of hang up. Hey, Stan, the fin painter's on. How are you doing, man? So yeah, so that's kind of the welding area. Got the TIG welder under here, the big old Miller, and then of course my Hobart handler back here, which if anybody ever asks me, what MIG welder I recommend is definitely the Hobart / Miller welders. So far superior. I see a lot of people out there getting the Lincoln welders, and they're fine. They'll work. But when it comes to sheet metal and fine control, there's nothing better than a Miller, period. And I don't know, I've welded on a ton of the Lincolns and a ton of the Millers, and the Millers are always superior in my mind. No offense to anybody who's a Red fan. I do like their stick welders, the Lincoln stick welders, but definitely the MIG for sheet metal, the Miller and Hobart line are just fantastic. So let's see. Randy says, nice potter's wheel project. It is a good idea, and I credit somebody totally different with that idea. That'd be Terry, the Texas Viking. He's man, he does some amazing TIG welding work. If you ever want to see a true master of somebody who can weld any two pieces of metal together, it's definitely that guy. And I do have to apologize for the stocking cap. I know I have heat out here in the shop, and it is like 30 degrees maybe. I think it was in the teens / 20s when I came out here this morning. So it is pretty cold out here. But moving on to other things, I kind of wanted to show off a few of the things that I'm working on in the shop, just kind of the shop projects and what happens here on a daily basis. And I wish I could make videos every day, but I just can't because of time. I have a real job. But I've been working with Tom's Tool Room on, I work with him on a number of different projects, but lately we've come out with a couple things. And this one, oh man, I'm gonna have to get some better light. Hang on, let's see. Oh, this is gonna work, I think. Does that work? Oh, so hard. There we go. This little guy, it's an intonation tool for Floyd Rose bridge on a guitar. And we worked for about a year putting this tiny little tool together, and I picked up a batch of 50 of them from the anodizer yesterday. And these things are so well made. I can never say enough great things about Tom and his abilities to machine things, but there's just a little chamfered broken edge on the outside of this. There's a little cope. I'm trying to find a light spot. A little cope in the toe there. And then this piece back here has got some delicate machining. Obviously, my logo is in there, but this is a slip fit on the pin on top, and that's to keep it from rotating. And it's a press fit on the back. And the press fit, before we got them anodized, the pin just kind of slipped in and slipped out. And after we got them anodized, it was a perfect like 2/10,000ths of an inch press fit. It was just absolutely beautiful when I was putting these together last night. I almost cried a little bit. But Tom is just amazing. We had that phone call, and he said, I just know, because the anodizer puts 4/10,000ths of an inch on the part. That's how much it grows. So it's 2/10 each side, and when there's a hole, so it's 4/10 all the way around. But oh man, yeah, drive shaft Drew, absolutely, it is great. I grew up not having these. We had a tool called The Key, and I hate to badmouth tools that other people do, but I strip those things out about the second time I use them, and they're just garbage. They're made out of sheet metal, and it's obvious, you know, they're just stamped out a billion at a time, and that's cool. But you know, they charge people $20 for them, and they're not worth $2. I mean, they're just not. And my thought is, this is a tool you'll have for life. You'll never have to replace it. And if nobody wants to buy them, I'm cool with that. I've got one. And I will use it on all the guitar repairs that I do. But the Floyd Rose is a difficult guitar piece to work on in the first place. And now I've got two tools that work in tandem to one, lock it out while you're working on it, and then number two, set the intonation. And with the combination of those two tools, you can turn any Floyd Rose from a piece on a guitar that really doesn't work very well to a piece that is absolutely phenomenal, just like it was intended. You know, it's German engineering. It's a lot of really cool stuff. And yeah, I see some comments there. A few people have torn up a few Floyd Rose tremolos. It's easy to do, and a lot of the licensed Floyd Roses out there were built poorly, let's say, but the original Floyd Roses are just phenomenal, and Schaller is now making all of them. They made them in the beginning, but now they're branding them and so forth. So wonderful, wonderful setup. But this tool is amazing. I put them on my website last night. I sold one already this morning without even putting them out there in public. I put a post or two on Instagram, but never mentioned the website. Somebody saw it and bought one. So I think it's imminent that those things are going to sell well, because they're just, quite honestly, there hasn't been a tool in that market ever to do that job. So yeah, I'll bet TOAG. Gosh, I'm losing your first name, and it's because I always see your social media, TOAG. But yeah, it sounds like it's more robust than the Floyd tool that you've used in the past. Yes, I guarantee you've used the key. It's a little flat black spray painted piece of sheet metal with a spring and a screw. Yeah, and that's what this was for. Is I just got so frustrated with those things. It was kind of like, okay, either put up or shut up, Greg. Design something that'll work. And so anyway, yeah, that's that tool. Super excited about that project. You know, you work on something for a year, and then it finally comes to life, and you know, your eyes light up. It's just like Christmas. And I was going to show one other project that I put a video out for, and I think maybe some of you guys saw the video on making this box. And this box was meant to house some squares that Tom and I are making. Well, Tom's making, and I did the packaging for them. I give Tom all the credit on these. They're just absolutely gorgeous. And this is the box I'm going to send Tom, and I've got another one for me sitting over there. And we sold out of the squares that we had, and we sold a number of pre-order sets. In fact, I saw Randy Richard. He bought not a set, but I think he bought the 2-inch, if I remember right, the little guy, this one. So these are the unanodized ones that Tom originally sent me. So Randy ordered one of these, and Tom's got all the metal, and I think he's actually started to machine them. So we'll have them to anodize here in a week or so, hopefully, maybe. But man, and I'm not trying to promote these things. The reason that we started making them and started selling them is because Tom sent me these guys, the unanodized ones. He said, just use them and see. And this little 2-inch one, I couldn't put it down. And I'm not being a salesman or anything else. This thing for doing working on metal tube, and I'll plug Randy here. Randy makes these scribes, and these scribes are amazing. I have 2 of them. I traded some twisted Sharpies for the first one, and then Randy sent me the second one as a housewarming gift. And I really do appreciate that. But these little 2-inch squares are perfect for working on little pieces of metal like this. And I use mine in combination with the scribe. And what I do is I use my tape measure and measure out, and then I use the point of the scribe to hold exactly where the line is. I move the square up to the point of my scribe and then give it a scratch. And it has, and I'm not the world's best metal worker. I'm not the best fabricator in the world, but going from a Sharpie line to a scribe line and using that technique has really helped. I mean, I'm down to, I think on my rough work, it's probably a 32nd of an inch accurate as far as all those things go. But if I were going to buy one square, that's the one I'd buy. I'd buy the 2-incher. I just love it. It's kind of cute, but it just works so well. And I've got 2 of them now in the shop. I've got this one and my orange one, and they're just constantly in my pocket. And I think Tom's the same way. I think both of us were surprised. We thought we'd like the big ones, and both of us have that little one in our pocket all the time. But anyway, yeah, so I did the box, and super happy with these. And then if you order a set of squares, you get the plans for the box, and then you get the foam insert so the squares all sit in there. So a little project to do and all that. I'm also working on, gosh, I started these back in Kansas City. These are little neck rests for guitars, and I made one a couple years ago and did a video on it. And people have been bugging me to make them and put them on my website, and I just haven't had time. So I've got a couple of them started, and I'll have those finished here in a little while. But my big job and what's been taking me away from so much has been this stuff back here. So that's a pile of mahogany, and that represents just over 1,000 of my trem block tools. And I cannot keep up with with that tool, making them fast enough. I actually had a custom, I couldn't find it before we went on air, which is really making me nervous, but I had a custom router bit made so that I could make those faster. And then I actually am hiring a laser guy to do all my engraving work. So it's kind of interesting. I want to talk about this a little bit because I think it's very, very important as far as being out in your garage making stuff. The little trem blocks, I have number one right here, and I keep it around. This is the first one I made. I made a video on it a few years ago. This goes back to the Floyd Rose tremolos. This is the first tool I made for them, and I made a video, and I made, I think, like 8 or 10 of these in that video, and then said I'll have them for sale. And I didn't think I'd sell a single one, but I did know this was a good idea. It was a good idea for me anyway. And now it's not in the router, Tom. I looked, but anyway, this was an important tool for me, and it was a good idea. And I didn't think it would sell because I didn't think anybody would understand it. And almost every day I sell a set of 4 of these, almost every day of the year. And well, that's me personally on my website. On Amazon, I sell at least a set a day. And every day I go put an envelope in the mailbox, and that envelope reminds me of the power of the idea. This was a throwaway idea. I didn't think anybody would want them, and I almost didn't even put them out there. And every single day I sell a set of these things. And like I said, I put the envelope in the mail, and it reminds me every day of the power of the idea and how we shouldn't ignore our good ideas. And that's why I'm always out here in the shop trying to make things and do things. And it's not because I'm a big capitalist and want to sell a bunch of things. That's not it at all. I think the ideas are good, and I think people benefit from our ideas. However we deal with them. If you make YouTube videos and show people how to make what you've already made, sorry, I'm reading comments. It distracted me. But if you show everybody what you make, I mean, that's as much of a powerful idea because you're spreading that idea. And quite honestly, with these things, in my video, I told people I sell them, or I will sell them. And but then I also told them how to do it without these. So if you want to make your own, or if you want to use an alternate method, I'm all for it. And the same with these little guys. When I come out with that video, my video is going to show how to do it 2 or 3 different ways. And you know, these haven't existed before. And so you could still do the job. It's just a little bit more difficult. So I don't know. I think that's what's so important, is the ideas that we have and making them come to life. And that's why I watch so many YouTube videos and so many channels, because the ideas out there are just wonderful. So let's see. Other things going on in the shop. I'm getting ready to put this little dude, a paddle switch on my big table saw, which I'll flip over there in just a second, to control the router, because I've got a router table in the table saw. So let's cool. At Home Depot and Lowe's, they look like extension cords, but they're just stripped on the other end. So if you have a project like this and you need a 6 or a 10-foot cord, you can actually get these. And the other way that I deal with it is, if they don't have these, I do just buy extension cords and just clip them off. And that's for doing, I'll call them pigtails on pieces of equipment that I know are going to move around my shop. Because you really don't want to use Romex for something like that. And buying rubber cord by the foot is a lot more expensive than buying the extension cords and just kind of wiring those up yourself. But I'll kind of flip the screen over. So my big table saw over there, let me get this light out of the way, huh? My big table saw over there, I can grab the camera and walk just a little bit. The big table saw, so this is a Delta Unisaw that I bought. And one of the first things I did was the Woodpecker's router lift. So about half the table saw is router lift, and then half is table saw, and you know the fence goes all the way down. This has been an absolutely wonderful investment. It was either this or the Saw Stop, and this one was for sale for $600. And I bought it and have been just delighted with that whole thing. So I'm just going to put that paddle switch on the face of the fence that goes along the back side there, so that I can control the router on and off real easy. So let's see. I'm reading some comments here. Randy said that's exactly what he does. He buys an extension cord and cuts it up. Yeah, I think it's the cheapest way to get number 14 or number 12 wire, depending on what you get. This one should be number 14. Yeah, number 14 gauge. So that'll be good for 15 amps, which is the router is I think 12 amps. So we'll get that all wired up hopefully sometime this weekend. But actually, I did want to show off one other thing that I've done here in the shop. I said this was going to be a shop tour in the description. I need to grab this again. Sorry, guys, for all the shakiness. But let's see if it'll focus. Yeah. One of the things that I've acquired here is a dental lamp. Thing is awesome for kind of highlighting work on my bench when I need a real bright light. But the other cool thing is I built a track for it so that it can traverse across my ceiling. So it'll cover all of this big outfeed bench that I have here, my table saw, and then it'll also put light out on my drill press as well. And I've got a big cardboard box sitting, over there, and that has another one of these in it. And I'm going to mount my camera to it so that I don't have to trip over my tripod all the time. And I'm hoping that'll be a really great time saver when I'm doing videos for YouTube. But yeah, so let's see. Yeah, the Unisaws, man, they are wonderful. Chad from Mancrafting is in here. How's it going, Chad? Let's see, what else do I want to show off? I do have a video coming out. Yeah, next is heat for sure. I do have a video coming out hopefully on Monday for all the thin brick work. So I documented that process as I was going through it, and I still need to film the kind of intro, outro, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the designing with brick. There's definitely, my background is I'm an architect, and so there's something to designing with brick. There's a bunch of different ways to think about it, and just kind of the little details, like this pilaster here. Sorry, I'm trying to do this backwards. This pilaster here has stack bond on the corners, and then it has a running bond between them. Then I have a running bond here, row lock course with a what the heck are all these? I'm losing it. I've got a soldier course up top, up there with a keystone in the middle, and then a basket weave that fills in that. And a lot of people have said it looks like a pizza oven or something like that. There's going to be a chalkboard that goes there, and hopefully that'll work out really nice. And my thought is I'm going to put my little sketches and drawings on the chalkboard so that I can put them up behind me while I shoot videos and people can understand a little bit better what's going on. Right now I've just been drawing them on my steel plate. But I did want to show one of the things I've been really proud of. I'm not the world's greatest woodworker, and so I kind of do things my own way. And everybody I see that puts up big dust collection systems, they run these things like all over the ceiling, and you see them dropping down. It looks like you're getting attacked by an octopus when you're in the shop. And there's nothing wrong with that. If that's the way you work and it's good for you, then it's good for you. I'm not working in that space, but I really wanted my space to be clean. And so I ran, and I think I've showed this a little bit, I ran all of my dust collection down at the ball, and I'm hoping you guys can see this. And then I came up, I built this big black box, for lack of a better way to put it, but all of my dust collection goes up inside that box and then kind of follows underneath my table out to my table saw, over to my bandsaw back behind there, to my CNC machine that's here, and then back over here to my sander, my drum sander. And it's just super clean. And I've been really happy with how well it works. And just having some little gates on each one of the outlets, just a 4-inch outlet everywhere, just doing a phenomenal job. But actually keeping all those runs, sorry guys for the shaky, keeping all those runs down low kept me from having to drop them all the way down the walls. So it took like, 10 feet out of each run. So everything's very short and compact and very close to where the dust collector is. And the dust collector is actually on the other side of my wall and downstairs. And one of the things I've been kind of disappointed in. I bought this remote control outlet from Grizzly, and it's supposed to be a 75-foot distance, whatever you want to call it, radius on here. And I'm literally maybe 12 feet from my dust collector, maybe 12 feet from my dust collector, and it won't work because it goes through a wall. And it's bad. I can even go in the house and stand directly over it. So basically it's just going through, flooring, a piece of plywood, and it won't go through that. So I actually have to go downstairs and click this and do it. So I don't know how I'm going to do this, but somehow I'm going to put the other end of it up here, and then I'll just wire off of that down to the dust collector in the basement, so it'll work. But I thought this was the answer, but it's not. But that's okay. I'm going to mount a fan, a box fan, dust collector kind of thing in here, or air purifier, I guess is how you'd say it. And I'm going to wire it into the same remote control, so I'll be able to turn both of those on, hopefully at the same time. And I'm reading through the comments here. Just placed an order for the fritter, throwing my key away. Picked up the trend wedge pack also. Thanks again. And like I say, I don't come on here to be a big salesman. I'm really a bad salesman. Somebody's calling me. Somebody loves me. It's my dad. Aw, hey, Dad. Hold on. Hi, Dad. Say hi to YouTube. Hang on. Go ahead.
Hi, YouTube. Don't let your
Thanks. Don't let your meatloaf. Hey, can I call you back? I'm live on the air.
Okay.
I'll call you back in 15 minutes.
Okay, bye.
All right, bye. Oh, I love my dad. So yeah, hi Mike. Tom's met my dad before. So anyway, where was I? Shoot, I do a terrible job of sales, but I do appreciate anybody who buys anything. It helps me a ton. It helps keep all of this stuff going for sure. But quite honestly, my big mission, especially with the guitar stuff, is I see people quit playing guitar because their guitars are set up so poorly that they're hard to play. And it kills me because I think there are a lot of people who would be fantastic musicians, or they would get a lifetime of enjoyment like I have out of playing if their guitars played better. And quite honestly, that's exactly why I do what I do. It's to help people play better and have a better time while they play. It's not, I'm not going to retire off selling guitar tools or anything like that, but I do think the things I put out, I think they have value, and that's why I put them out there. So anyway, thank you a ton for the order. So you're number 2. You're my second order. So you'll get official number 2 fritter. Fritter's the name. What does everybody think of that? So Floyd Rose intonation tool is how it kind of like what do you call that? All the first letters, FRIT. And I thought, well, let's make it fritter. Let's make it sound like something. But it kind of sounds funny to me. I guess a fritter is kind of like a donut or something, isn't it? But anyway, I don't know. That's the name for right now. It may change. So anyway, I'm trying to think of what else on the big garage tour. I know I've showed off some of this before. I'm going to tip up. I have built some cabinets. You can see I've got a little gap there. I got to fill in on that cabinet, but that's where all of my finishing supplies and glues and things like that are. And then behind that is a piece that I built when I was in Kansas City to house all my little storage bins and stuff like that. And that's worked out really, really well. I'm not an organized person in general, and that helped me tremendously kind of get the shop cleaned up and all that kind of stuff. And thanks, Douglas. Shop looking good. Thank you. The last thing I'll show on storage is I did buy all these green bins, and these have been fantastic as well. And it just helps me organize by, like if you see, some like Gia parts or small clamps or guitar tools or brackets, things like that. I do have a little heater fan blowing on me here so I don't freeze to death out here. But those two things have really helped me tremendously in the shop get and keep everything organized. At least organized for me. This is very organized for me. So those have been a great help as well. What else do we have out here? This came from Kansas City as well. So it's all my TIG rod, and then my miter saw is under there, and then some other tools will store there eventually. And then this was built new, the welding table and all that stuff. So I think I'm looking, we're 30 minutes in. I think I'm going to wrap up and get back to my dad. But man, it's been great being back on YouTube. I'm hoping to do some more Saturday morning chats, and I may actually pre-record them and then do the whole, what do they call that? They call it premiering, I think now. You can premiere your video. I don't want to make it like a big deal, you know, premiering a Saturday morning chat, but I think the cool thing is if I premiere it, I can actually put the chat window up and chat with you guys. It's a lot more fun to kind of watch and chat along. So I appreciate everybody tuning in, and I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend and gets lots of stuff done in their shop, and I hope to see you again soon. I'll talk to you later, and maybe, hey, we'll throw out an homage to my dad there. Don't let your meatloaf, guys.